Hello, and this week's Tips from the Trenches Thursday Thoughts is about tuning in to your own wants and needs, which, if you're a mom, probably feels like a completely foreign concept. But what I notice in my office is that a lot of times people come in are so overwhelmed by all the things that they have to do and all of the stuff that they have to keep up here in their head about their schedules, their children's schedules, their partner schedules, the family schedules, the what's best next, what's the developmental stage, what's the, proper punishment versus consequence versus family time versus memory making. All of the things that we're trying to do as moms can be so overwhelming that we fully lose touch with what we want or what makes us feel okay. And the only time we notice how we feel is when we're totally dysregulated and feeling terrible. So my hope is to share with you some of what I learned as a mom and some of what I know as a therapist to keep you from that only feeling yourself when you feel terrible and maybe bring you back down to, oh, I'm noticing that this is what I need in order to feel good. And I'll just tell you a quick story. I was often alone with my kids when they were very little because my husband worked in the city about an hour and 15, 20 minutes away from where we lived, very long hours. So I woke up with them and he was gone. I put them to bed and he still wasn't home yet. Most nights, not all the time, but most nights. I didn't realize I was fully overwhelmed until I, honest to goodness, started hating him. He wasn't doing anything wrong. He was just going to work. But the resentment for feeling fully unsupported and fully alone was so big that I thought, this guy is literally the worst human being on the planet. And logically, I couldn't actually come up with things to support that because he wasn't going out partying. He wasn't even playing golf. He wasn't doing anything except going to work and coming home and going to sleep. But I felt so incapable of doing everything that needed to be done that I had to blame someone. And it sounds counterintuitive, but actually what I did at that time was try to learn myself better, was to take a minute and tune into me and my needs and my wants rather than putting everybody else first, which is what we do, right? As moms, we just put everybody else first until we're at a place where we can't handle anything anymore and we break down. So I took a step back. I didn't do anything formal. I didn't have time for anything formal. I wasn't going to journal or go on a retreat or all the things that I've since been able to do as a mom of older people. I now plan in weekends where I get to spend time sort of reflecting on myself and doing things. But back then, that was not an option, financially or time-wise. I couldn't go away and do yoga somewhere. But what I did do was carve out little bits and pieces of time for myself to just sit and be and think and allow my mind to wander. We had this covered front porch. It was almost like a sunroom that, it was a porch that they closed in. So it was like a sunroom. We just put a big chair out there that honestly didn't fit in our living room. We moved it from somewhere else and it didn't fit. So it was a big chair. You could sit, you could sit with your legs crossed and you could, the arms were nice and wide. You could put like a notebook or even just a cup of coffee or something on there. And I used to, in the evenings when everybody was asleep or on the rare occasions where he was home and I put him in charge of bath time, I would just sit out there. No agenda, no nothing. But it gave me space to settle, to calm, to, if it was available to me, to think about what do I want here? What do I want? What is this time good for? What can I do about it? I can't make him quit his job. I can't make him be home more. I can't make him a different person. I actually don't want to leave him because that came up and I had to really examine it. Do I want to do this? Do I really want to do this all by myself? Or am I just feeling so alone I need some other solution? And that quiet time, that tuning in, that, nothing formal, no meditation, no yoga mat, no nothing, just time with myself and my thoughts. 10 minutes cumulatively gave me a new way of looking at who I was and how I was in the world. I stopped blaming him for being unsupported and started asking him for help in supporting me in ways that he could do. I started setting boundaries and saying no and demanding things that I knew were going to help me and ultimately my kids when necessary. And I think I was only able to do those things because I gave myself the space to settle into my own body and mind and say, what do I want? What do I really want here? So often that's the question I ask my clients when they come into my office. Well, what do you want from this? What would feel good? And they never know. And it's not because they don't know themselves or it's not because they don't, can't figure that out. It's because they haven't been given the time to ask the question. They haven't even been in touch with their own physical bodies enough to know what feels good. So my tip for you this week is, if you're feeling up to here, if you're overwhelmed, if you're run down, if you're burned out, if you're any of those things, start small with just 10 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day, if that's all you can give yourself, of quiet contemplation. Nothing might happen, and that's okay too. You might just finish the 5 minutes, and in those early days, maybe not even feel any different, but just see how different you feel over a week after giving yourself that time to do nothing but sit and see what comes up then when you ask yourself, what feels good and what do I want? You got this. I promise. Until next week, good luck in the trenches.